I don't really have an image for us, but more of a question. Can we prove God? Prove that he exists to other people. Now, we cannot absolutely 100% prove God because we can't pull him out and show him to people, right? We can't parade him around like that. But as a comparison, I can't prove to you that I will be able to even drive my car home tonight, right? Now, why can't I prove that? Well, because it hasn't happened yet. I cannot with 100% certainty tell you that my car will get me home. Any number of things could happen. I could have an accident. It could break down in some manner. We could have a mechanical failure. But I have faith that it will, right? I have a hopeful, sincere expectation, and I believe it is still in the parking lot, and when I walk out this door that it will take me home this evening, right? But what if it was stolen? If it's not in the parking lot, does that mean it never existed? That's kind of how some people look at God. They think, well, he never exists. You can't show him to me, right? So if I walk into the building here this evening and you didn't see me drive in my car, does that mean my car doesn't exist? Even though we have the evidence of me showing up somehow, right? And maybe I have car keys to prove I have a car. Now, I know this kind of sounds silly. I kind of get that. But there are so many things in this life that we can't see, and a lot of things we don't understand, even if we can see them. And that doesn't mean they're not real, or that they don't work, or that they don't exist. Do we, see and understand gravity? I can't pull that out and show it to you either. Do we know how aircraft are able to fly? Do we know how TV works? Do we know how a computer works? In all these things, we may not understand them necessarily, how they work, but we can see the results, right? Anybody can turn on the TV and watch it. You don't have to understand how it works at all. We all benefit from gravity, whether we understand it or not. And sometimes we detrimentally kind of benefit from gravity if you take a fall. But I bet most people don't really understand how aircraft fly, not really. But we can still ride them to get places, right? Most people don't understand how computers work, but they can still use one to do things. And if you have a smartphone, you basically have a little handheld computer that you use for whatever you do with that. We can also look at DNA and microbiology. We may not understand those things exactly, but we benefit from them. Our bodies are extremely complex, masterfully coded machines. And when we look at microbiology, we see amazing designed mechanisms at that level. It's a very tiny level within us. When we look at DNA, we see the expert programming of these mechanisms in this body. We see that programming from God. These are things that just could not happen randomly. They're too complex and there's too much of an order to them. But do we fully understand everything about them and how all of that works? No, we don't, right? But just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Our bodies are here and functioning for us. I hope everybody's functioning, right? So, if we look at Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 29, the secret things belong to the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong to us and to our children forever, that we may do, that we may do all the words of this law. So there are things in this life that we do not know or understand. We must accept that. I will never know all the secrets of the universe, at least not in this life. But we can know that source. We can know the creator of everything. We can marvel at his design. We can thank him for all his blessings and all this work in us that he's put into us. But how do we know God exists if we can't see him or touch him? Well, how do we know my car exists? Right now, I can't see it. How do I know it even exists? But I'm here, so we still see the results of me driving my car to get here. And the same is true of God. We can see the results of God, a God of order, not of chaos. This universe was not created or generated through random explosions. The Eiffel Tower was not created by random explosions, was it? Was New York City created by a bunch of explosions and bombs? No. All those things, all these earthly things have creators, right? People created them, made them. They have creators. The same with the universe and the world. Order and design does not come from random chaos. And neither were our bodies created by random changes in our DNA. Because if you understand DNA, you understand why evolution is impossible. It does not exist as it's defined and described to us. See, the DNA that defines your body, every cell, and how it works, all that DNA is all you will ever have. Your DNA does not have the coding for feathers or scales. That's why we don't have feathers or scales. Our DNA does not have that. Now, evolution would say that we came from some single-celled organism from some primordial soup, and that DNA was injected into this as things evolved over time. But every animal actually already has all the DNA it's ever going to have, just as it was created, just like God created it. Random external events do not change your DNA. They do not add to or take away from your DNA, whether or not you lose a hand or you have, something else occur to you, or you take medicines, that can damage you in bad ways, but it's not going to inject something new and good for you. Birds without DNA, again, will not grow scales. They will never grow anything like that. Lizards without the DNA code for it will never grow feathers. That single-celled organism will never grow beyond its DNA. It is what it is. It's what it's coded to be by God. And we never see that in nature. Now, we see defects sometimes due to the fall, the fact that sin and death have corrupted this world. We see defects in things, bad copies or miscopies, or information is left out of DNA, but it's not, evolution requires that new DNA must be inserted at some point. And we never see that. There's no mechanism for that in nature. So while this world is fallen and corrupted, it is not totally or completely ruined. We can still see God's work in creation. If we look at Romans chapter 1, verses 18 through 20, Paul mentions this. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress, and the word suppress means, hide, who suppress or hide the truth in unrighteousness. Because what may be known of God is manifest. That just means it's clearly seen, it's plain, it's evident, it's right there. Like if I hold this up, that's manifest, clearly seen. So what may be known of God is manifest or clearly seen in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, again, being understood by the things that are made. And the things that are made, that's God's creation. So that's the result of God's design and creation. Even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. So you can think of they as anybody in the world, including us. So don't be fooled. We can easily and plainly see the results of God in his existence. Even if we can't pull him out and show him to people in that kind of sense, I can't pull gravity out and show you that either. There's a lot of things that I can't show you, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. Now, I have a firm, confident expectation that when I walk out that door, I will be able to get in my car and drive home. And I have that same exact expectation that the Lord will also get me home when I leave this life. So if anyone here has a need to renew or maybe just receive that firm expectation in the Lord Jesus this evening, please come forward as we stand and as we sing.